Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ryan the Ride Mechanic channel. How are you doing today? Listen, it's a special update because it's Monday, it's Labor Day, and I just wanted to make another video, Labor Day video. So we're going to talk about some things today, and it's like, why is Labor Day important? Not so much the holiday, but why is this day important to amusement parks? And I wanted to talk a little bit about it, so please, let's get into it. Here we go.
Now get ready. Here we go.
First of all, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. And if it's your first time, please make sure you leave me a comment, like, and subscribe. I love to hear what everyone's thinking out there and what's going on. So, as a Labor Day treat today, I want to give everybody a special little something out there. So, listen up. If you send any one of my videos forward to 2 people and say, hey, look at this guy, he's pretty cool. Or if you forward these videos to 2 people and say, hey, this guy's completely doesn't know what he's talking about, then I will make sure, if those people subscribe to my channel, that their subscription to my channel is free. That's right, they don't have to pay for it at all. Today only. So make sure you get it out there and say, hey, listen, there's no subscription fee. It's completely free today. Just go to YouTube, log into your account, find this guy, Ryan the Ride Mechanic, and subscribe to his channel. And it's absolutely free. And again, guess what? Your subscription that you already have is also going to be free. So I'm handing out free subscriptions to anybody today. So that's it. Refer a friend, bring them on over. Everyone gets a free subscription today. It is absolutely awesome. All you have to do, if you haven't already, is look at that button down there at the bottom and hit the subscribe button, and then you're subscribed to the channel. It's completely free today. So make sure that you tell everybody, go Ryan Ride Mechanic channel and subscribe, because today it's free and you don't want to miss out on that. You don't know how much it's going to cost tomorrow. So make sure they come in today, get that subscription. It's a Labor Day special. So make sure you get in and do it today. Hurry up. Labor Day. What's going on today? Everywhere across the U.S., because U.S. observes Labor Day today and most other places do it on May 1st, I believe it is. But across the U.S. today, and a lot of parks just in general, are making the same speech this morning. They're out there saying, thank you everybody for a great season. Everyone's done good. Things have run great. We've had some problems. Maybe we've gotten over some stuff, and we're not done yet. We're going to make sure we have a good, most parks go into like a haunt season or something like that. We're going to make sure we have a good haunt season coming up, and we've got all these special things planned, and that's great. What does that mean? So tomorrow, what's going to happen? Most parks, a lot of parks that aren't full-time operation, a lot of parks are going to shut down. They're going to be, okay, we're done with the full-time season, finally. Whew, man, maybe it was a rough year, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But we're going to stop, and we're going to say, okay, the park is back to closed. Oh my gosh, let me tell you, that first Tuesday when you come in at a later morning, because normally you get there at like 5 o'clock in the morning. But that first Tuesday when you come in at 7 o'clock morning and the entire crew is sitting there because everyone's working one shift again, and it's just like, oh man, we don't have to open the park today. It's kind of an amazing feeling. It's like, that's great. So, kind of late from my normal video point of view, but the topic of today's episode is what we're going to be doing over this next week to 3 weeks over here, which is the topic of deferred maintenance. That's what I want to talk about today, deferred maintenance. You're like, that's kind of an odd topic. Why would you talk about that? Because most parks that come up on this shutdown time, this doesn't ring true so much for parks that are open year-round, or they continue week-long operation all the time. But for parks that close down, and maybe Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, that park is closed, right at this time of year, there is a laundry list of stuff that they haven't done all over the park. Every ride pretty much needs some sort of little bit of extra attention once you get back into this time of the season. So I wanted to bring up a couple little points and say, Deferred maintenance sounds pretty scary. What is deferred maintenance? Also referred to as backlog maintenance or demand maintenance, deferred maintenance is planned or unplanned maintenance that has been postponed. This could be due to a number of reasons, but the most common is usually a lack of available funds. As a result, maintenance projects get deferred to a future budget cycle and the maintenance backlog increases. So, let me give you a couple examples of deferred maintenance that you typically find in parks. And now, none of this is too crazy, like, oh my gosh, it's a safety concern or anything like that. It's not really something like that. But here's some examples of deferred maintenance that we commonly engage in, especially at the end of the season where we have that break coming up, where we have suddenly 4 days to work on the park where we don't have to worry about being open. I would say the number one thing that gets deferred right at the very end, the last couple weeks, is when the mechanic calls up and says, hey, the brake brass out here is getting kind of low in these particular brakes. What do you want to do? Now, sometimes this is a really easy thing. You just go out there and swap the brass out. It's no big deal. Sometimes you have to take the whole brake unit apart. You got to take the skis down. I know we had for a while on a lot of the Vekoma rides, you have to go back, bring the skis back to the shop, and then cut the brass off of the ski. It takes a long time to do. And then you have to put new brass on and rivet it back down. And that is a very long process. Most of the time during the season when you change brake brass out, unless you have skis that are pre-built and ready to go, some parks do, some parks don't. It can cause hours and hours and hours of downtime. And unfortunately, if the park starts messing up and you start running into all sorts of other problems in the park, those hours might actually turn into the entire day. The ride might be down for that. So it's something that you ask to say, okay, well, where is the brass at? And they say, well, it's getting down low. We're going to need to replace it soon. And then you start saying, well, can it make it to right after the last full-time weekend? Can it make it to that point in time? Yeah, I think it can make it there. It's like, okay, let's watch those particular brakes pretty carefully and find out if they're going to make it. So if not, we'll have to just shut the ride down, bite the bullet, and do it. But a lot of times, those last couple of weeks, we're like, can it wait a couple of weeks and let's push it off until we can do it? Another thing that happens exactly like that is booster wheels. Booster wheels are the rubber drive wheels on the track that actually move the trains forward and backwards, depending on what's going on. The booster wheels wear down sometimes quickly, sometimes not. So it depends on where these components are. If it is something that wears down fast, it typically isn't a thing to defer that maintenance unless it's only by a couple of days. If this for this particular weekend, let's say it's Monday now, right? Let's say the mechanic came up on Saturday morning and said, man, these booster wheels are getting worn out. I really have to change them. Then you can ask the question, can it make it till Tuesday? If we can make it till Tuesday, then we could put 4 guys out there and change it out, and it's not a big deal. But only the mechanic really understands how fast those things wear down. You can have managers and supervisors go out there and look at it, but honestly, unless they're really in tune with that particular ride, they don't understand what's going on either. So they really rely on that mechanic who signs that ride off daily to say that that is a problem that we have to shut the ride down for, or it's not, and we can defer that for a couple days or maybe a week until we get out of this particular time period. Outside of brake brass and booster wheels, there's not really too many other things to defer out of there. Some oddball repairs, like on Rapids Ride, you have to change bladders out all the time. It might be one of those things, it's not really deferred maintenance, but it might be something, hey, as soon as the park shuts down, we're going to take a bunch of boats out of there because they've been sitting there with dead bladders and get them back to the shop, and maybe we could really saturate some manpower on it to replace a bunch of stuff and get them back out for the next weekend. It's not really deferred maintenance though, but it is something that when you have a multi-ride unit like a Rapids Ride or something like that, and you have 16 boats running around there, if you have 15 all the time, that's awesome. If you have 14, great. If you have 13, it's like, man, you're starting to get some boats tagged out. And then you have 12, and then operations starts saying, hey, we're noticing some trouble now. We're down to 12. It's starting to slow down. Then you get down to 11, and operations is like, hey, really, when can we get some of those boats back? Because our lines are getting long, and we really want to get people through this. So rapids rides always have, multi-unit rides always have some issues like that. A very common inspection that gets pushed off towards the end of the full-time season like that is the next particular, like quarterly or something like that comes up on a ride. Something where you have to grab, like, it's not uncommon for a roller coaster, you have to grab a man lift and start driving a man lift all around and go through and do a very close track and structure inspection. And a lot of times those can be deferred a couple weeks or maybe even a month and push it off to the side and then do it at the end of that. Now, there's always things like if you have a particular hot spot in the track or something like that you want to constantly watch, then obviously that maintenance isn't going to be deferred off of that. If you have a known problem area, you're not going to defer that. Greasing and stuff like that, it's like the most you can push off greasing is by a couple of days, 4 or 5 days maybe at the most. And then those components start to wear prematurely. So you don't want to push off greasing and things like that, but that greasing does take a lot of time out of the mechanic's day to do. Some parks have seasonal mechanics that run around, and that's all they do is grease stuff, which is awesome, but I was not at one of those parks, so I don't really know what that's all about. And it's like if you need to do stuff on a ride, you were doing it yourself, and there was nobody else to do it for you. Speaking of water rides, there is a big push on water rides right at the very end of this season to do some of this deferred maintenance, because one thing that happens all the time is that a lot of parks want to shut the water rides down right after that full-time season is over. There's 2 reasons for that. Number 1 reason is that they want to clean the ride, because you can't really, they don't have like fancy pool filtration systems and stuff in them. A lot of them don't. Most of them are just simply recycled water treated with chlorine to make sure it's sanitary. But some do have that. But the ones that don't, they want to literally empty the ride out and then vacuum the pond area and suck out all the debris and everything else that's gathered up over that full-time season. And that's quite a lengthy process. That also typically means a week or 2 of downtime to do that. But that's something that the park, honestly, in my opinion, the park always wants to do come mid-August. But a lot of times the park doesn't want to do that because they're like, the operations people are like, hey, the water looks bad. We want to get this out. And maintenance is standing there saying, well, it's sanitary. It's got the proper amount of free chlorine in it. But then you get out there, it's like, well, okay, well, we can't just down a water ride during the hottest part of the year for 2 weeks while we just clean it at the bottom. So a lot of times, like, it gets pushed, say, well, we'll do it right after we shut down. We'll do it right after we shut down. And then it gets pushed back. It's deferred back to this time of year. The second reason is that sometimes that the park, depending on the climate around there, sometimes the park is done completely running that water ride at the end of the full-time season. They're done. So it's like, okay, then they shut the ride down and it goes into its refurbishment. I know at the place I worked, we shut it down for the Fright Fest Haunt event there at the end of the year because we needed that. We put attractions right there that the people use. So we just shut those rides down once we were done with that full-time season so we can do that. So I did want to say thank you for everybody that has been watching. I do appreciate it. And we're going to continue on and we're going to keep making videos into the off season and everything else. And we're going to be taking it out there. And I look forward to making them all. And I want everyone to have a good Labor Day. And if not, have a good Monday. And I will see you guys on the next video. Remember, stay off the air gates. Bye.